welcome to the Hungaroring, where qualifying is about to begin for the Euroformula Open round this weekend, the first of two races this weekend. And as you can see, we've already got cars heading out onto a very warm track indeed. 42-degree track temperature. The clock is ticking down already. We've got 25 minutes to sort out these 20 drivers on the grid. And of course, qualifying at the Hungaroring, always especially important because we know that when the race begins, overtaking gets very difficult indeed. So expect 25 minutes of exciting action coming up. My name is Keith Collentine, and joining me in the commentary box today, I'm very pleased to welcome Elliot Wood. And Elliot, we have got absolutely ideal conditions for qualifying today.
Yeah, nice warm weather, lovely view of the track from our commentary box, and lots of cars on track as well, which we don't normally see at the very beginning of the sessions. Yeah,
they're not wasting time, are they? They'll have plenty of opportunity to increase the temperature in their tyres. Now, we do have some slightly tricky rules governing what drivers are allowed to do on qualifying laps in this series, which are a bit unfamiliar from different championships, aren't they?
Yep, you're not allowed to warm up your tyres by weaving on track, although one driver, Formula 2 racer Hungaroring Matsushita, is making his debut this weekend. He actually warmed up his tyres in the pit lane yesterday, which is a bit of a controversial move, but it's something new. It's something unique to Euroformula Open. You have to warm up the tyres literally by driving as fast as you can.
Well, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for them today because, as we've said, it's nice and warm at the Hungaroring this morning already. The sun beating down. We're getting occasional respite from the clouds, but mostly the tarmac is baking away nicely out there. You can see the drivers beginning to jockey for position out on the circuit. They're not really going to be wanting for much in the way of slipstreams around here because such is the density of corners around the Hungaroring. Really, running in the toe of another driver is not that beneficial. You mainly want to have a bit of free air. We're looking at Yuki Tsunoda, who is on his way around, the Japanese driver, part of the Red Bull Junior Driver Academy, and just not too far behind him is his near identically liveried Team Motorpark teammate, Liam Lawson. Both drivers, as usual, running pretty quickly in practice. In fact, Yuki Tsunoda topping both the first and the second practice sessions, so he's definitely going to be one of the drivers to look out for pole position. Who else has caught your eye so far this weekend, Elliot?
It's definitely Matsushita, which isn't surprising given his experience as a professional driver, as well as a driver on the junior single-seater ladder. In free practice yesterday, he stayed in the pits for a long time, came out very late, did a few laps, but immediately went into first or second position each time. But also, it's a lot of the drivers who have experience of this track already are the ones we should be looking out for today.
Matsushita, of course, fresh from his victory in the Formula 2 feature race at the Red Bull Ring, supporting Formula 1 last week. Very, very good weekend for him indeed. He'll be off back to F2 next weekend, while these guys head on to the Red Bull Ring themselves to get acquainted with the Austrian track, not too far away from here. Very different proposition to the tight and twisty Hungaroring. So we keep an eye on the motorbike car of Yuki Tsunoda. He's coming around to complete his first lap, heading into turn 14 on this fairly compact 4.3 kilometer layout. Dodging just a little bit to the side as he comes out of the corner, and he crosses in front of our commentary position, and Yuki Tsunoda has put up the third quickest time for now. We're not really seeing very fast times from the drivers just yet. They're mostly just playing themselves in. Julian Hanses leading the early times with a 1 minute 43.348. But to put you in the picture, yesterday we saw times well down into the 136s. So the drivers just playing themselves in on their Michelins at the moment, getting a bit of a feel for the track conditions. No doubt the teams have sent them out with a bit of fuel on board as well. And once that starts to burn down, we'll start to see the serious lappery underway.
Yeah, times will go down very quickly, but we've got to remember in qualifying that it's a very strategic place in Euroformula Open. The tyres, although they last a long time, only have 1 or 2 laps are at their very peak, so drivers have got to manage almost time where they're going to be on the track at the right time, so they don't catch other drivers, so have their perfect space to set their best laps.
This is the middle part of the lap where it really is just one corner that leads into another at the Hungaroring, and drivers have to get into the habit of making sure that they set their cars up perfectly for each of the successive corners, sacrificing the exit on each one to just the right degree to line themselves up to get through the next corner as neatly as possible. That changes at the end of the lap. This is sector 3 that we're looking at now, where it's really just a sequence of individual, not quite so tightly connected corners, ending up with these 2 hairpins. The long looping left-hander at turn 13, which we're watching Liam Lawson work his way around now, and then the final corner, which leads onto the main straight, which gives drivers a bit of respite from all those turns, and back out around they come for another lap. And now we're starting to see some proper times. Marino Sato down to a 1:36.499, but that's immediately beaten by Callan Williams, the Fortec driver, getting down to a 1:36.393. That is a pretty quick time from him at this early stage.
That is very quick. And Callan's the only Fortec driver this weekend, as his former teammate Cameron Dass has moved to the Motor Park team, the German squad of the championship. So Callan's doing a very good job on his own here, although he's got a bit of traffic here. Rui Andrade, another one who's impressing extremely well this weekend. And he's just had an off-track moment, a lot of dust picking up there, so that's his lap ruined. Looking at his first sector, he had actually set a personal best, so could have gone even faster.
But it's time for me to utter the dread words at the Hungaroring: track limits. We've already got flashing up on our timing screens drivers having their best efforts deleted for track limit violations, as Lucas Dunner goes quickest with a 1:35.724. We'll see if that time stands, but the drivers and track officials keeping a close eye at the various spots on the track where drivers can put all 4 wheels wide, and of course if they do that, they get their times deleted. Turn 4 has been a really big trouble spot for this so far this weekend, and already Cameron Dass, who we just mentioned, and Linus Lundqvist have had lap times deleted for running wide there, but also down at turns 1, turn 6 and turns 11. The generous asphalt runoff around here, a bit too tempting for drivers, Elliot.
Yep, and turn 6 is one where drivers have to be extra careful, because those are some pretty high curbs on the chicane there, so they could damage their cars by just going a little too strong into that corner.
And there is a clear example of running way, way, way beyond the bounds of track limits there by Lucas Dunner, our current pace setter. On a 1:35.724, Marino Sato goes up into second place behind him, less than 0.05 of a second away with a 1:35.768. And there's a little bit of a gap back to Javier Gonzalez, the Mexican driver for RP Motorsport, in 3rd place. Liam Lawson is 4th, and Callan Williams, with that early time we marked, has now fallen down to 5th place. And there's a replay of Lucas Dunner getting a big snap of oversteer in the middle of turn 4, and that is the pretty classic way to exceed track limits there.
It definitely is, and he's had to completely back off now, because if he continued pushing on that lap, he would have taken the life out of his tyres, so ready for the next lap, which is just coming around the final corner. So he could go for another flying lap now. He's got a lot of clear space on track in front of him. Of our 18 cars, only 17 are on track. We've got Jack Doohan, who's still in the pits. There's no sign that he's emerged from his garage yet, so possibly might be a problem with the Double R racing car there.
Well, he has still got more than quarter of an hour to get out and set his first time. Rui Andrade becomes the latest driver to lose a lap time for exceeding track limits, and also off is one of the RP Motorsport drivers. That's Pierre-Louis Chauvet, also going off at turn 4. That is, one of the most impressive corners on the Hungaroring. The drivers approach it. We're watching Lucas Dunner come towards it now. They climb up and up and up. The apex is somewhat disguised by the rise. Dunner's not attacking it at speed at the moment, but when the drivers do, it's a truly impressive corner indeed. It used to be, I think, a lot more scary when there was gravel on the outside. Now they know at least if they run wide, they've got a good chance of returning to the track with all 4 wheels still attached to the car. But it is one of the quick and spectacular points on the track to keep an eye on. And sure enough, we've got a replay of another driver running wide there.
Christian Hahn, I believe, of Carlin. And it's drivers coming off the exit of turn 4. And I'm wondering, because we are very early in the day now, if the track hasn't rubbered in, there's just not the grip as the drivers are committing to the corner. We've seen several drivers already having their best lap times pinged. We've got Javier Gonzalez had another lap deleted, and he's currently in the pits. Rui Andrade, who's a serial offender for track limit violations yesterday. I believe his team boss got summoned to the stewards on multiple occasions.
Well, after that first flurry of lap times, we have got 2 drivers who are head and shoulders ahead of the competition at the moment. Lucas Dunner and Marino Sato, both on a 1:35.7. No one else within 2/3 of a second of them. Liam Lawson knocked back into 3rd place for the time being. Callan Williams has moved up to 4th. ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. And Nobuharu Matsushita keeping an eye on the progress of the Formula 2 driver who's come over for this weekend. He is currently in 6th position, but those 3 drivers in 3rd, 4th and 5th places, Elliot, covered by just 9 thousandths of a second.
It is very close. It's interesting to note with our top 2 who are a clear margin ahead. I believe they've gone a little softer through the first sector of the lap, which is where we're seeing a lot of drivers go wide at 10.4, and therefore they've been quicker throughout the last 2 sectors, which is where I believe they've gained the time. We've got Liam Lawson who's about to cross the line now. He's had 2 poor sectors, which is just as a kind of a warm-up lap for a timed attack this time round. I believe we've got another notification. It might be Rui Andrade again, although I do believe he's in the pits. Yeah, and we've got several other cars joining pits, including Tsunoda. We've got a replay here. That is
Andrade indeed, exploring another part of the Hungaroring lesser travelled.
And without making too many comparisons to the Canadian Grand Prix of a few weeks ago, a lot of the drivers are going wide at turn 4 are really struggling to get back control of the car as they come on track here.
Yeah, but the important thing is they're not cutting up their rivals as they come back on.
Yeah, and it's only qualifying as well.
Indeed. And the timing screen is updating very, very rapidly, both with drivers setting quicker times and quicker sectors, and with track limits violations as well. Lucas Dunner just went fastest through the first sector, but as I think you saw, he backed off in the middle part of the lap. He remains on top of the times for now. The teammate of Aldo Festante, who you see coming into the pits at the moment. Lucas Dunn, of course, had pole position for the first race of the year at Paul Ricard, and he, as he comes into the pits now in front of us, looking to follow up that with what would only be his second pole position, but Marino Sato in second behind him at the moment, on pole for all of the last 4 races, and needs to find just another 500ths of a second to put himself back up there. Of course, I say just another 500ths of a second. It's not as if I could go out there and do that.
And we just had a very close moment in the pits as Lucas Dunner came out of his pit box, and Nikolai Jygard, I believe, of Carlin cut across him, almost hit each other. Talking of Carlin, Christian Hans, another who's just had his lap time deleted, as his teammate Tepe Notori jumped up to 8th. We also believe we had Nobuharu Matsushita, who's been dropped down to 6th. Currently looking at Billy Munger on track. He impressed very early on in free practice yesterday. Obviously won the Po Grand Prix historically. But clean track here, but this hasn't always worked as a strategy, going in the middle of the session in Euroformula Open and trying to set a lap around this time.
It's always tricky, isn't it? Because having other cars as a reference can be useful, but equally you don't want to pick up the traffic. And of course, if you're running with other cars, there's always the possibility that someone in front of you might bring out a yellow flag, and that will scupper your lap time effort as well. But Billy Munger currently in 13th position. He's actually just moved up a place because one of the cars in front of him, Tepe Notori, has had a lap time deleted as well. But Munger in 3rd at the moment. He's not improving on this lap time right now. What does his time through the middle sector look like? Again, it's not an improvement, so Munger not tracking to improve his 13th place right now.
Worrying scenes for Double R Racing. Jack Doohan still hasn't made it onto the circuit. He hasn't set a single lap yet, so he's 18th on the grid. Teo Martin Motorsport, who are running Lucas Dunner and Aldo Festante, they're only down to 2 cars this weekend. Guilherme Samaya, who finished on the podium at the season opener, and Paul Ricard, he's left the team due to a kind of contractual disagreement. He may return, but we won't be seeing him in either of the races this weekend at the Hungaroring.
So we have a little bit of a quiet moment. Drivers heading back into the pits. In fact, pretty much everybody in the pits at the moment with just over 10 minutes to go, apart from Nobuharu Matsushita. He has just done his personal best time in the first sector. He has the track all to himself at the moment as we watch Lucas Dunner heading in. So what's Matsushita doing in the middle part of the lap? This could be a bid for him to move up from that 6th position. He has improved in the middle part of the lap. It'd be good to see Matsushita's progress as he comes towards the end of this run. We're keeping an eye out for him in the final sectors, but he has gone personal best in the first sector, personal best in the second sector as well. He was nearly 9/10 of a second off provisional pole position on his previous run, so he's got a lot of time to make up if he's going to lift himself up the order. We keep an eye on the Teo Martin garage. There is Lucas Dunner, currently our provisional pole sitter, and the man that Nobuharu Matsushita and the rest are all trying to beat. And Matsushita has actually aborted that lap time and come into the pits.
And we need to see if any of the teams are making changes here, because we're seeing a replay here of Dunner. Has he had another off moment on the track? No, perfect line for the chicane there. Because the track's not rubbed in, teams may be tempted to make changes, but as the temperatures increase, the cars will get slower, as we saw in free practice yesterday. This is hotter conditions than free practice, and as the temperatures went up, the times got slower on Friday.
Well, we have all the drivers in the pits for the time being, less than 10 minutes on the clock, and it is still Lucas Dunner on provisional pole position and Marino Sato in second place, the only driver so far who's shown anything like the kind of pace that might take Dunner off that pole position spot. Liam Lawson in third place, over 0.6 of a second behind. It is super close behind them. In fact, we have the top two 0.6 of a second ahead, and then 0.6 of a second to cover the next 8 drivers.
And we saw a shot at Jack Doohan there. Still hasn't set a lap, but it does look like he's getting ready to head out on track with the rest of the grid. It would be bad timing if he comes out with 17 other cars around him at the exact same moment.
Just in time to be held up by everybody else. Of course, you never know. He may have been deciding that he just didn't want to risk using up another set of tyres at this early stage. It's been a somewhat up and down kind of season for Jack Doohan. He's had some good results. He had a tough weekend in Po, but of course he's one of the more junior drivers in the championship, isn't he?
Yep, he's under 18, which means he's not allowed champagne on the podium, unfortunately. But he's done a very good job. He's extremely committed to this year because he's doing another championship in Asia, doing Formula 3. And he's won there as well. And he's learning skills from one, applying it to the other, and vice versa.
And he's, no, sorry, that's Rui Andrade heading out of the pits at the moment.
A motor parker at the start of the pit lane, so they've got the quickest route out the pits, whereas I believe Rui Andrade is at the maybe in the middle of the pit lane, so it's Teo Martin Motorsport, the biggest disadvantage here. They're almost at the pit entrance, so they're going to be behind everyone else as they exit the pits.
Now quite a long way from the pit exit as well. As we watch, Rui Andrade has got the Hungaroring all to himself. It looks like he's got a fairly fresh set of tyres on the car as well, ready for his final tilt at qualifying. He's currently down in 16th position, 2.1 seconds off Lucas Dunner. He needs to find more than 0.2 of a second to improve his place relative to Nikolai Kiergaard ahead of him. But I think compared to what we've seen so far from Andrade, keeping it within the white lines on both sides of the circuit will be the big objective for this lap if he's going to be in a position to improve where he's going to be starting from. We've got a few other drivers all starting to head out now. The track is starting to get a little bit busier as we prepare for the final runs. We've got Liam Lawson heading out. There goes Lucas Dunner, our provisional pole sitter, heading out as well. So it's all going to start getting a little bit busy on the circuit, but Andrade should have the track to himself as he begins his final series of runs. Just over 6 minutes left to go. There goes Marino Sato, currently second place and a serious candidate for pole position heading out, treating those tyres quite carefully as he joins the track. And just behind him, we get a sight of Nobuharu Matsushita, who is in 6th position. A little bit of an indication of intent, I think, from Matsushita then at the end of those final runs with those 2 personal best sectors. He's got some time in hand.
He definitely does, and he doesn't need to put the laps in to get the experience because he's raced at this track multiple times, and he raced in Formula 3 in Japan several years ago. I believe he finished 2nd in the championship there. So he's got experience of this car, although this is only his 2nd weekend in Euroformula Open because he did do our winter series at Paul Ricard in February.
Because it is a really big change in terms of tyre philosophy that he has to get used to. He's used to racing in the Formula 1 Management Run Championships where they have the very, very high degradation tyres. The Michelins we use here are a very different proposition indeed for him to get to grips with as Rui Andrade comes through, and we pick up further up the order Julian Hanses, who is in 10th place at the moment. The motorbike driver a little bit of a way behind some of his teammates at the moment, looking to make an improvement. Jack Doohan has joined the track, and he has come through to begin his next run as well. So we've got all 18 drivers up and running and setting times, and even swapping positions as they come past our commentary place. But let's keep an eye on Hanses on this lap. And Linus Lundqvist coming around to begin his one as well. We've not spoken about him yet. Currently down in 12th position, perhaps not quite as far up as we would have expected him to have been at this stage.
Definitely, but in free practice, both of the double R cars were kind of anonymous until the very final seconds of the session, where they leapt up the orders, and I believe both of them were in the top 5. They were seeing Andrade cross the line. He hasn't improved, but he did very well yesterday. I believe he was top 10 both sessions. That's his best performance of the season so far.
And of course, for Lundqvist, there's quite a bit of learning new tracks to be done for him, because he's mainly been racing in Britain up until this year. The Hungaroring, another new one for him. But as he accelerates out the corner, this is not a push lap from him. You can see he's not quite exploring the envelope of grip at the full exit of the corner yet. The driver's just taken a couple of laps to gradually build their tyres up before unleashing the best of them. But we won't have to wait very much longer now, because as you can see, the time is ever ticking down. Jack Doohan, however, is pushing on a lap at the moment. He's done a personal best in the first and second sector, of course, down in 18th place at the moment, having not yet set a competitive time, but he is in the final sector now, not too far ahead of Linus Lundqvist, and we should see him through to complete his first time shortly.
He's at 1 minute 43, so that's 8 seconds off the pace, but that was fairly similar to the drivers who came at the beginning of the session, what they were setting just as they came to the track. So it'll be interesting to see his first sector on his next lap, as we're still following Lundqvist on camera, but we've got several of the Motorpark cars crossing the line at the moment. None of them have improved, although Julian Hanses has just set his personal best in the first sector.
So here comes Linus Lundqvist through to begin his latest qualifying effort. Is this going to be a push lap from him? Hanses, as you say, has done his best time through the first sector, but it's actually off the time that Rui Andrade has just done, as Andrade moves up into 14th place. But Liam Lawson has got some pace. He's gone fastest of all in Sector 1. So has he got something to bring to the pole position fight with Lucas Dunner and Marino Sato? So we've got Lawson a quick one as well, but this man who we're looking at has just beaten it. Linus Lundqvist even faster through the first part of the lap by 0.06 of a second. So some very quick times coming in indeed. Here is Liam Lawson working in the middle part of the lap now, where the corners come at them very, very thick and fast, sweeping through the very quick right-hander at turn 11 into the final sector of the lap. He's quickest of all again in the middle part of the lap. So Lawson really is on a quick one here indeed. The times are improving very quickly now as well. Marino Sato, his teammate, is also improving with the fastest time of all in the first sector. So the drivers are really, really going for it now into the final corner for Liam Lawson. And let's see what he's got as he drives out of the last turn and towards the line. Liam Lawson goes quickest of all with a 1:35.719. That's provisional pole position by just 0.05 of a second, but there's many more drivers out there improving right now. Marino Sato on a quick one. Nobuharu Matsushita, they're trading the fastest times in the first and the middle sectors of the lap. We're going to have an absolutely belting contest for pole position on our hands now. Driving around the final corner, out and towards the line comes Marino Sato. And he crosses the line in front of us. It is. Now he comes across the line with a 1:35.324. So that puts him up to pole position just ahead of Nobuharu Matsushita, who also improved that time by. So it's Sato ahead of Matsushita now at the top of the times with just a minute remaining.
Christian Hans jumped up to 6th for Carlin. We're seeing a lot of the drivers who are locking up at turn 1, so some of them are getting track limit violations already. We've had car number 7, that's Jack Doohan, who's only on his second flying lap, and Yuki Tsunoda's just jumped up to 3rd. Didn't set personal best sectors, but none of them were best of the session, and he is just 0.2 off teammate Marino Sato now. Callum Williams back up to 8th. Remember, he was at the front at the beginning of the session, so he's slipped down the order. Lucas Dunner's just set the best first sector of the session, as has Sato.
It has been beaten indeed by Marino Sato. We've got 3 Japanese drivers at the top of the times at the moment, as Lucas Dunner, I think that is, drops a couple of wheels into the dirt at the exit of turn 7. So it's Sato from Matsushita and Tsunoda at the top of the times, but it's Sato who's really bringing the pace right now and looking for his 5th consecutive pole position in the Euroformula Open. The checkered flag is just about to come out, so drivers will only be allowed to complete the laps that they're on.
And I believe Liam Lawson and one of the other Motorpark cars just crossed the line in time to be able to set another lap. So for 16 of these drivers. This will be their final opportunity. We've seen Lucas Dunner come around the last corner. Did set the best middle sector, but remember, he did go a bit wide. And he's seen cross the line.
Oh, and he goes up into provisional pole position by over 0.2 of a second. Dunner, that's a 1:35.058. So it's Dunner on top for now as the drivers come around, complete their final laps. Marino Sato is second. He didn't manage to improve in the end, despite that excellent first sector. And Nobuharu Matsushita's had a lap time deleted, so he drops way outside the top 10. So it's Dunner on pole position for now. But what has Liam Lawson got? He is gone personal best in the first sector, just 0.06 of a second off the best time though. So if Liam Lawson's got a quick time through this part of the lap that we're looking at now, he could yet have something for the pole position contenders. Here he comes to the middle part of the lap, round turn 11, that very, very quick right-hander over the line, which ends sector 2, and he's lost a bit of time in the middle part of the lap. In fact, it's not even a personal best in the middle part of the lap for Liam Lawson. So he's just got the final sector to complete now. He's in the penultimate corner and accelerates out towards the very, very long right-hander at the end of the lap. It just feels like there's infinite understeer as you round that. He drives out and towards the line, and Liam Lawson from 4th place moves up into 3rd, but he's not able to dislodge any of the drivers from the front row of the grid. It's Marino Sato in 2nd place. The pole position run has ended, and it's been ended by Lucas Dunner.
Very interesting that Sato is running directly behind Dunner when they were setting their quick laps, and Dunner kicked up a lot of dust as he came out the chicane, and Sato had to drive straight through that, so possibly that compromised Sato's lap and prevented him challenging for pole there.
May well have done indeed, but that is a much-needed return to the top then for Lucas Dunner and Theo Martin with their Austrian driver stopping Team Motorpark from sweeping the top 3 places, pushing Marino Sato down into 2nd position ahead of Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. And once again, the Red Bull Junior back drivers will find themselves alongside each other, and hasn't that provided some fireworks so far this season? Tepe Notori is down to 5th place then, ahead of Linus Lundqvist, who did improve to 6th. Christian Hahn is 7th, and Jack Doohan, with that late effort, takes a fine 8th place on the grid. Callum Williams is in 9th ahead of his former teammate Cameron Dass. Javier Gonzalez is 11th ahead of Julian Hanses. And then we have Aldo Festante, Nikolai Kiergaard, Billy Munger is down in 15th. Nobuharu Matsushita only 16th on the grid for the Formula 2 driver after that lap time deletion. And then the back row of the grid will be Rui Andrade and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. So I think there, for me, Elliot, really, obviously great to see Lucas Dunner back on pole position, but the big surprise of the session has to be Nobuharu Matsushita all the way down in 16th on the grid. That's going to provide some big action in this afternoon's race.
Yeah, he's got the experience, but this track is a very difficult one to overtake on, so he's going to be up against it. I'm not sure if Sato is going to be happy with Lucas Dunner there. I generally think that possibly compromised him setting a 5th pole in a row.
The old Jack Brabham tactics of dropping a couple of wheels into the dirt and firing up a few stones at your opponent. Far be it for me to suggest that Lucas Dunner would stoop to such tactics, although it helps you win 3 World Championships. It's not that bad a thing at all. So there is Liam Lawson, 3rd place on the grid for him. I think he must be a little bit disappointed with that final effort, not least because it's left in the best part of half a second off pole position. And really, Lucas Dunner and Marino Sato were clearly the quicker of the 2 drivers in that session. It felt like pole position was always going to be down to one of those 2 drivers. We're going to go down to the pit lane shortly to hear from Lucas Dunner.
Lucas Dunner, fantastic ball at the very last minute. How you built that?
Yeah, so we did already a good lap in the first stint, and now in the second stint I knew I only had 1 lap, so I just pushed it to the limit and tried my best, and I think that the lap was quite good. I could manage my tires well, and at the end we did pole, so I'm really happy.
Big advantage for this afternoon.
Yeah, this track is quite hard to overtake because it's like many corners and not many straights, so we will have to need a good start, and then we will see how the race will go on.
Well done. All the best.
So Lucas Dunner on pole position for this afternoon's Euroformula Open race. Join us again later this afternoon then for more of the action from the Hungaroring. Until then, from me, Keith Collentine and Elliot Wood, thank you very much for joining us.